Yeah, today's developments are really phenomenal. I'm glad that she's out of jail. We've all been to jail, we've all been there. We know that, to do or say anything to get out of jail. So this attorney is just, her statements are phenomenal because she's, talking about the Kardashian celebrity upon which, the sex trafficking victim was splashed across the media. And here she is holding a press conference saying the most salacious things possible about her, calling her dead. I mean, can you just get a little more dramatic? So the court cases that she's going to file against all of those cop agencies, it's going to be a sideshow and a circus and the main event and all the above. So I think what happened here, Elle, is that, she's a bit of an ambulance chaser. I think she went after the father and talked him into putting up a separate fund, after the fund that we put up for her, trying to get her out of jail. And she saw that and she was just like, oh, hell no, I'm not going to let these hoes help her, So she got the father talked into doing it her way. And, starting this other fund that, talks about, Celeste is a 13-year-old and showing a photo of her when she's 13. Oh. So it's just a little surprising that the restitution they're looking for is to restore her privacy. It's, yeah, you can see what's going to happen here, right? I mean, it's already happening before our very eyes. And calling on, Attorney General Kamylla Harris to go and investigate these police agencies. I mean, Elle, come on. All of these police agencies have endorsed her candidacy for the U.S. Senate seat of California that will be voted on this November. She's not going to tamper with her lead by, looking like, turning on her constituency, which are the cops. Right. We are not her constituency. That's why she is the named plaintiff in our lawsuit, for enforcing the bad laws, the anti-prostitution law. The anti-prostitution law is at the center of this debacle. Mm-hmm. If prostitution were not criminalized, then, people would not be feeling coerced into giving free sex in exchange for police not putting handcuffs on them. Mm-hmm. If prostitution were decriminalized, people would not feel coerced to have any interaction with the police at all, ever, unless they wanted to or needed to.
That's right.
Because prostitution is criminalized, everybody in the sex industry feels as if they're under surveillance, that their privacy is being violated. And we know that everybody's privacy is being violated by the NSA. Google has helped, all these sex trafficking, federally funded, taxpayer dollar funded, sex trafficking task force to, map us out and to, follow our phones, all the GPS on our phones, be able to see all the text messages and all the voicemails and record all the phone calls. So the U.S. government is well aware, that, at any time that they can, come in and hear what's going on in anybody's life and do whatever kind of extortion scheme that they want to run on anybody. Mm-hmm. And I think also, what's so interesting about all this that's come out today is now you're starting to see district attorneys in all these jurisdictions. Some are saying, oh no, we're not going to file any charges. It looks like the sex was all consensual. It was after she was 18. The Alameda County prosecutor that has the jurisdiction over the Oakland Police Department, which is under, a federal monitor for the last 13 years for doing the same thing,
exactly the same thing.
So it's just like you've been under federal monitor for 13 years. You've gotten worse under the federal jurisdiction. So it's laughable that the police are investigating themselves, that you have Oakland city supervisors saying that it is ridiculous that the police are investigating themselves. The police should not be investigating themselves for anything ever.
Right.
And they need to engage in some state law right now
Hmm.
to put a stop to that.
Yeah.
If they really want to restore public trust, that's what they need to be doing. They need to be passing laws that say that the police cannot have any sexual contact with anyone who is under investigation
Hmm.
in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. Damn
Because
right.
we all know that the police are all getting massive amounts of free sex off of people in the sex industry, off of vulnerable women,
Hmm. Yes.
and they get away with it
Hmm.
all the time. I
Yep.
mean, what's also really laughable is that this, justice center over there in Oakland that has, the Bay Area Women Against Rape. I mean, here was their head uh, counselor, having sex with, the mother of a sex trafficking victim. I mean, and now he's a probation officer. So you know how he's going to extort all the sex off of, people who are coming up with dirty UAs and, people who, violate their probation in any sort of way, shape, or form. God help Celeste Guap if she ends up under his control.
Hmm. Yeah. People don't understand that this is not an anomaly by any means. This is something, this is common. This is business as usual. This is what happens. This is just how it is. And it doesn't get reported. This is all that's the hidden, in the dark, stuff that really needs to come to light. It's time.
Well, I think it is going to come to light. I thought that some of the statements by that attorney today were phenomenal. She basically calls out that there's a huge conspiracy amongst at least Bay Area police agencies and officers of, having sex with, she indicated that maybe there was more,
Seven,
that there were more underage people in the sex trade that they're having sex with.
she said 7 agencies. And yeah, that there was a conspiracy. And she kept referring to the, anti-trafficking rhetoric that we've been, hearing for years and years and years that was generated by, very wealthy people in the anti-prostitution realm. I was just amazed by that. Just the whole thing. I'm just wow. What is this evidence that she has that shows that what evidence are they going to come up with? This is going to be it's going to be wild.
Well, and that the district attorney in Alameda County, Nancy OMalley, who's one of the named, defendants, another named defendant in our case, that she waited so long to file these charges. She only did so, under extreme public pressure. And the charges that she wants to charge have nothing to do with sex trafficking. Nothing.
Mm.
There's not going to be any criminal sex trafficking charges here.
Well, Nancy O'Malley wants Kamylla's job.
That's right. She does. She does want, because, the Attorney General, Kamala Harris, is, going to be elected as the U.S. Senate seat for California. And, Nancy O'Malley has been running around the state, using this sex trafficking rhetoric as her means to open the conversation in all these jurisdictions and, Southern California, where she's not well known, but she's trying to get her name out there. And so that seat, when it's going to be vacated, will be appointed by the governor. And then the state legislators will have to affirm that appointment. So, Nancy O'Malley should definitely not be the next state attorney general. This all happened on her watch.
Mm-hmm.
It's happened under her nose. The reason that teenagers in her jurisdiction, are even thinking that they need to give free sex for cops in exchange for staying out of jail is because she has brought charges against those teenagers time and time again for prostitution, when clearly the federal government has already stated in the Violence Against Women Act that people under 18 should not be arrested for prostitution. And what has she done? She uses the criminalization of prostitution to traffic these kids into these shame-based, sex-negative service programs like Bay Area Women Against Rape over there at their justice center, right?
Yeah.
So she's trafficking these vulnerable youth, by using the weapon of criminalization into the arms of these predators, like these counselors, these male counselors at the Rape Crisis Center. I mean, it's appalling.
Yeah.
The whole thing is appalling. And the taxpayers need to stop funding this baloney. I mean, they just really need to pull the plug on any federal or state dollars right now. Demand that, that they just put a stop to this, and we're trying to do our part here in getting prostitution decriminalized and taking this weapon and this means of extortion that the criminalization of prostitution law is used as away from the police and away from people like Nancy OMalley.
Yeah, you made me think also of, what they're doing right now in that region, which is to the governor, I'm not up to speed on all the details, but with law enforcement assisted diversion, also known as LEAD, where, which I know it has a lot to do with drug, addiction also, but they've lumped the prostitution right on in there, and $13 million is going to be, earmarked for that program, which puts, at the same time, I'm thinking, wow, Nancy OMalley, all these people who are approving these programs, they have sat and listened to testimony, which is on the Sex Worker Nation YouTube channel from over a year ago, and additional testimony over and over and over again. These public officials have heard our voices, the voices of experts, the voices of victims saying, the cops are abusing us, they're molesting and having sex with kids who are in the sex trade, and these people have ignored this over and over and over again. And now, at the same time that this big scandal is blowing up, they're not acting on it, they're not doing what they need to do. They are using this as a platform to get elected, but they don't care. If they really cared, they would have listened over a year ago, 2 years ago, 4 years ago. I mean, this is such a common thing that happens, and they have heard the testimony. You can see it on the channel here, and they've ignored it. All they care about.
Well, they don't really care. They don't really care about us. They don't really care about sex trafficking victims.
No.
They're just giving lip service to the public and doing these press releases like Nancy OMalley did last Friday,
Right.
Last week, telling the public, having a big press conference. Oh, charges are being filed. No, they weren't.
Yeah.
No, they were not being filed. It was just ridiculous that she, even held that press conference. It was all for theater and all for the public discourse. And yes, the governor of California has allocated $13 million to give to police agencies. Oh, we can listen to this, Elle. They're giving it to the police agencies so that they can have a program where the police can take people who are using drugs or people that they identify as being in the sex trade and trafficking them directly into services without arresting them first. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is like giving the police $13 million to come molest us.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I mean, it's what it is. I can't, there's no accountability. Mm-mm. There's never been any accountability with groups like Bay Area Women Against Rape who are receiving public money. Mm-hmm. There's no way for people who've received services from them to evaluate them. There's no way for people to make any complaints or grievances against any of these nonprofits that are aligned with law enforcement.
And that's the whole United States. That's not just, that's everywhere.
That's right.
The whole United States.
And there's no way to log any grievances against the police departments. You know, any grievances against the police departments are, ignored, poo-pooed. I mean, that's why you have all those rape kits sitting around
Right.
being unprocessed, right?
Right.
Because the police, their priority is to have free sex. That's just their priority. This, public safety line of baloney that they are talking about it's just not credible. You can't even take it. It's not credible anymore, and everybody can see it.
Yeah. Time for something to be done about it.
Yeah. And we're calling on decriminalization of prostitution across the board. We're calling on the state legislature to take definitive action and stop police from being able to investigate themselves. And, they have to have a law that makes criminal any sexual contact between police and people that they have under investigation
Absolutely.
or in their custody. That has to stop. I mean, that has to be like
Yes.
law right now. It has to stop being legal for police to have sexual contact as a means to arrest us for prostitution. That has
Yes.
to stop.
Right.
If they were serious,
Hmm.
which they're not,
Hmm.
I mean, their actions speak louder than words. And thanks for taking the time this evening, Elle. And
Yeah, I'm blown away. Anything I can do to generate energy around this topic, it's mind blowing. And the general public, they don't really understand that cops are having sexual contact under legally to arrest people in these under the guise of investigating sex trafficking and prostitution. So why wouldn't they feel entitled to do whatever they want any other damn time? I mean, wow. I mean, it's mind blowing that they're able to do that. And there's other videos on this channel from Alaska, California, Colorado, different parts of the United States of cases and witnesses who are saying, this has happened to me. It's nationwide. It's epidemic. It's horrible. It needs to stop, and decriminalization of prostitution is the only relief. It's got to, we have to have that so that they won't be able to do this anymore to us, to our community.
well, and they need to defund these police departments. I mean, they have the wrong laws on the wrong people and the wrong people enforcing the laws. That's very clear. The Oakland Police Department needs to be seriously defunded, and so does that Alameda County District Attorney's Office. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a mess. We'll see if Oakland, has the guts to really take on this issue. I doubt it, but
Well, and real quick, one more thing.
they're all cronies. They're all in bed together. So, they're all part of the Democratic Party. They're all, about rubber stamping each other's and co-signing each other's, garbage, so that they can self-promote each other into their next political election.
Yeah. So what gets me is that, this jurisdiction, this area, these agencies were under federal jurisdiction in the first place. Please explain that.
So the Oakland Police Department was under a federal monitor to make some changes in the training and the hiring practices, in the discipline for the police officers, because 13 years ago there was a civil lawsuit where part of the settlement was that the Oakland Police Department would agree to be under this federal monitor because they had acted so egregiously. It was a case called the Ryder's case. It involved 4 officers who did things like plant drugs on people, arrest them, jacking up street-based prostitutes, having sex with them, forcing them to have sex with them for free. And even if you paid, a prostitute money, she still has the right to say no. You know what I mean? She has the right to say, no, I don't want to have sex with you. No, I'm not taking your money, But they, it was actually rape what they did. And, they were, you can Google that case, Elle. It's phenomenal. Those officers fought tooth and nail They were kicked out of the police department, and their cases went on and on and on. I mean, for years they went on, and at one point they demanded their jobs back. So I won't be surprised that, you know, I mean, these particular officers, can fight these charges. It can go on and on and on, both the criminal case and the civil case that these attorneys are looking to file against them. And, like I said, I was under the impression that she did not want to be involved in a litigation that filed against them in civil court. But I think now that she's been to jail, yeah, she's going to file against them. They're going to get filed on. That's what's going to happen. That's what criminalization does, is it just begets more criminalization and more damage. And, this whole system is just not working. And as a society, we need to just tear it apart, take it apart, tear it down, defund it, stop funding these police departments, stop funding these politicians and passing all their bad, shitty laws, that they don't even want to enforce. I mean, Prop 35 and all the sex trafficking law was crafted by Nancy OMalley. And now she doesn't even want to enforce it. She's not even going to file on it.
Follow her own protocol that she put into place.
Yeah, no, she's not going to do that. They've made their bed, and that's what corruption is. That's what police corruption looks like. That's what law enforcement corruption looks like, is they get to be arbitrarily picking and choosing what laws they want to enforce and how they want to enforce them. Because when you have police officers pulling over black men for having a taillight out and they end up getting shot and it's filmed on Facebook, they're arbitrarily making up stuff. And, the Baltimore Police Department, they got found to be not guilty. So the police are getting away, and they're going to continue to get away until society dismantles those police departments and defunds those police departments and takes them apart, because they are a failed institution. They are not they're not bringing any public safety. They're never going to regain public trust. That's never going to happen.
I agree. Well, thanks for taking the time to talk about this, and we'll be watching very closely. And we are going to continue to work to establish decriminalization and justice for our community.
That's right.